I think the Eagles are going to win Magic Jersey.
How do we even allow you to have a mic? You're losing!
All right, you're on. All right, the game didn't start.
I don't even care if you're an Eagles fan. You're delusional.
Is sacked. Mahomes pressured again. Sacked again. Intercepted. Picked up by Cooper DeJean. Middle, and it's intercepted again. Mahomes pressured again. Far side of the field. It is knocked away. Devontae Smith. He has got
it. Okay. Feels the need to open up a beer. Wonderful. Just fantastic.
Let's talk about the fucking Super Bowl. Let's fucking go. Fuck the intro. I'm excited for this. I don't know about you guys. I'm a huge Eagles fan. Eagle jersey, Eagle jersey, Eagle jersey, Eagle jersey. I told you. All right? Let's fucking go. All right. Let me calm down a little bit. Hold on. Obviously, the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. I'm excited. We got to talk about the game, but there's a bunch of other shit we have to talk about. We got Dean, I want you to start because I just want to sit back and relax for this one.
You've earned your beer. Congratulations. It's always nice when a fandom wins the Super Bowl or wins any championship for that matter. So I congratulate you, good sir. I think that was the cherry on top of quite literally the worst 12-month stretch of any year in Giants football history. So it was just fitting for me to continue to bask in the misery. So well done to the Philadelphia Eagles. They played a phenomenal game. They truly did show that they were the better team in this game. Their defense was outstanding, to say the very least. Jalen Hurts really, showed up when he needed to in the biggest game of his career. Not counting the first Super Bowl, he's grown up and grown since then. So very happy for him as well. Did want to give a shout out to the NFL. This year is officially a record-breaking year for views for a Super Bowl. 126 million people in the United States, which is crazy to think about because that's over a third of the population, which is just unbelievable. So want to give a shout out to the NFL here. But yeah, I mean, honestly, first and foremost, I do want to give a shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. They played a great game. I did think it was going to be a lot closer. I did say that the Eagles had a chance to win because obviously if you make the Super Bowl, you always have a chance to win. I did think it was going to be a one-score game or a three-point game just based on how both teams, played throughout the year. I was horribly wrong. The Kansas City Chiefs' black magic finally ran out. They really just showed a lot of ineptitude in the first half, and then by the time the middle of the third quarter came, it was way too late. They were down like 27 points, so that's pretty much a wrap on that one. Give props to the Eagles. They did not let up in the slightest, which is what you have to do in the biggest game of the season, of course. And then like I mentioned earlier, shout out to, just the key area. It's an age-old adage, but it reigns true every single Super Bowl. Defense wins championships. And the Eagles had a top 2 defense in the NFL. They showed why they had a top 2 defense in the NFL and completely shit on Patrick Mahomes. Look, I'm going to let you have your moment, Derek. You've earned it. It's a big win for you, so I'm going to leave it up to you.
All right, first of all, I have to thank this man. Jalen fucking Hurts. Obviously, he had his pick in the game, but he played a great game. I'm so happy right now. These past 48 hours have been the best 48 hours of my life, by far. First of all, I need to start by thanking the God himself, Vic Fangio. That man, there needs to be a statue built in Philadelphia, sculpted of his face. I've never seen our defense fire on all cylinders. Our pass rush. We got to Mahomes 6 times with 15 quarterback pressures, which is fucking insane. Insane. Josh Sweat had 2.5 sacks. Williams, 2. I believe he had 2. And obviously there was a bunch of other widespread with Jordan Davis with a sack and then a half a sack somewhere. I am so happy right now. The young people showed out on our team. Obviously, what I said, and this is the one thing I need to say. I said last week that the Eagles are going to win by 2 scores.
They did.
They would have won by they won by
3 scores.
Yeah, they won by 3 scores. They would have won by 34 if they didn't take out their starters. Which by far, taking out your starters in the Super Bowl is the most amazing thing to see as like the fan who's of the team who's doing it. It's like you played so good in the biggest game of the year to where you could take out your starters and celebrate so early. First, one player I need to mention, Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean is not a safety. He's just a corner who'll lock down your number one.
That white Caucasian corner is a fucking animal. I love him. He went to Iowa. He's 22 years old. 22 years old. And he got his first career pick in the Super Bowl, and it was a pick 6. Outstanding. Outstanding fucking work. That's on the defense right now. Let me go to the offense. Obviously, going into this game, I was expecting Saquon to get shut down. Because obviously I said I was being outlandish and saying like, oh, Saquon was going to rush for like 100 and something, whatever. But I knew it was going to be a hard game. The KC has one of the best rush defense in the league. And we can't deny that. But what Jalen did on his feet that game, he broke his own record, by the way, for 11 rushes, 72 yards, and a touchdown. Outstanding. Fucking outstanding. Obviously, he had his pick with the Nick Bolton coming in with a Cam Jurgens pretty much not even blocking anyone. He threw it up to A.J. Brown, picked off. It's fine. Luckily, our defense showed up to where the team pulled back from a mistake, got the ball back, drove down the field and scored.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. And obviously, the one thing I got scared about during the game is when A.J. Brown had a fucking argument with Nick Sirianni. Of course, caught on camera. Then fucking next play, you see that next drive, he scores a fucking touchdown. A fucking amazing to see. I have no words to just. I'm so happy. One question I have for you, Dean. Overall, if you could pick one player who won the Eagles the game, who would you say it is?
You got to say it's Jalen Hurts. You got to give props where props are due, man. I mean, Kansas City came in this game with a clear-cut motive on defense and what everybody thought what they were going to do, shut down Saquon Barkley. And you know what? To be completely honest with you, they did. They really did shut down Saquon. If you told me at halftime he was going to have 30 rushing yards, you would think the Eagles would have been down, right? If you told me by the end of the game Saquon Barkley was going to have 57 rushing yards and less than 100 yards in total, I would have told you the Eagles would have lost. So the Kansas City Chiefs came into this game with a clear-cut game plan to shut Saquon and the run game down. And they did. They actually succeeded on that. That's the one portion of the game where the Kansas City Chiefs succeeded. They allowed and wanted Jalen Hurts to win the game, and he did. Look, he was almost flawless. Yes, he had that one bad pick where he had a naked guy coming right towards him, and he just threw it up, and it was like 5-10 yards, ahead of the guy. Right? It is what it is. You get over it, right? But this guy had 2 touchdowns, 221 yards, not to mention 72 yards and a touchdown on the ground. The tush push in the very, I think it was the second drive, if I'm not mistaken.
Third drive of the game.
Third drive. So he did everything he needed to do. And every time the Chiefs blitzed, which was a lot because Spagnuolo does that a lot, he was able to find the open receiver, whether it's on an out route to the sideline, whether it was down deep to A.J. Brown or to Jahan Dotson. He found these guys, right? He was calm, cool, collected. He did what he needed to do. Jalen Hurts was definitely the major reason on offense that they won this game. No, hands down, props where props are due.
Obviously, I 100% agree. But if I were to say if there was another person, and I know it might be crazy, but I would give it to Cooper DeJean. Because that pick six was a game that changed everything. Because they obviously it was a third down. It was a third down 16. We just got a sack. We just got 2 sacks, I believe. And Mahomes rolls outside the pocket. Coop picks it off, runs it back. That momentum that we had from that point, in fucking sane. And this is not like for like one certain player. This is a whole. The offensive line played outstanding against Spags' fucking blitz. I did not. I honestly thought I would have saw Jalen on the ground at least like 5 times that game.
Yeah, look, we talked about it in depth previously. You knew Spagnuolo was going to send blitzes left and right. Right, that's just the way he operates on the defensive side of the ball, and he put a lot of trust into his corners and safeties to cover man to man. And in the very first half, it didn't happen. Right, on the very first drive of the game, he sent an all-out blitz. AJ Brown caught it on 4th down on the sideline with a bullshit penalty that called it back. That was the first indication that the corners maybe just didn't have it. Right? And then the very next drive, he throws it to Jahan Dotson, who's wide open, naked, and he hits him in stride, gets down at the 1 for a tush-push touchdown. So Spags, how his defense works is he wants the pressure on the quarterback, so he doesn't have a lot of time, so he has to throw. But that also puts pressure on the corners to not get beat deep. That's the one thing you can't do when you're blitzing is get beat deep. And they consistently got beat deep, which is where the problems lied. So you do have to give a lot of props to the offensive line just in terms of holding them just enough for Jalen Hurts to have that time to throw a perfect deep ball. And look, you also have to give props to Gainwell and Saquon for also picking up blitzers on the linebackers, ends, corners, all that stuff. So it was a really team effort on the offensive side. I just wanted to say, though, I mean, this game was won by the defense. Your defense, the Eagles' defense, was just exceptional from all areas, all facets. Not only did they pick Mahomes off twice, one was a pick six, as you mentioned. They forced a fumble and recovered the fumble, and on top of that, they sacked him 6 times. They did not allow Mahomes to breathe.
I love it.
Which is, like I was saying earlier, defense wins championships, and they proved it. I mean, they held the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions to 22 total points, and that's, by the way, 16 garbage points in the 4th quarter. So they really held them to 6 points all game. They held Kelsey to 0 catches in the first half. Not 1, 0. And nobody in the running game for the Kansas City Chiefs had more than 25 yards, and that was Mahomes.
Crazy.
The defense was exceptional. Just exceptional.
I'm so like another player in the defense, Nick Bond, or no, not Nick Bond, Zach Bond. My fault. We signed him this year to a 1-year deal from the Saints. He was nothing before this year. I wouldn't say he's nothing. He was a good linebacker, but he turned into an All-Pro, and he played outstanding in the game too. I was honestly shocked how we locked down Kelsey like so easily. But obviously, it puts into effect the pass rush. Mahomes had no time to throw the ball. No time. Going on to KC for a little bit to get away from the Eagles for now. Who would you blame specifically in this for the KC's loss?
It's tough. I'm going to blame Kansas City's offensive line, right? Because I saw a stat, and you could correct me on it. The Eagles did not blitz once in the game. No. So they consistently sent a 4-man rush. And Patrick Mahomes had a forced fumble recovered by the Eagles and 6 sacks against, not to mention all the QB pressures. So that's all in the offensive line. Not one blitz. All you had to do was pick up your man. And they did not. At all. So if they're able to pick up their guys, 4 rushers coming at you and give Mahomes a little bit more time, we could be talking about a different outcome right now. This could be a totally different game.
I could be drinking vodka.
But they didn't. They sucked. Their offensive line sucked ass in every single way fathomable. They couldn't get anything on the run. Mahomes was running for his life half the game, which caused the interceptions, which caused the fumble, which caused the sacks and the pressures. I mean, it was just like clockwork. And then the other portion of it is just poor defensive on the back end, right? Their corners and safeties, when you blitz as much as the Spags defense does, as I mentioned earlier, the corners and safeties' jobs are to keep everything ahead of you. If he gets a 5-yard pass, you know what? So be it on a blitz. If he gets a 40-yard pass on a blitz, that's on you. You have to defend everything behind you when you're sending 7 guys on a blitz. And they just consistently did not do that. So it was those two facets of the game. I mean, it proved throughout the game that the Eagles just had better talent, better execution, better team.
What I will say, the last thing I would emphasize, we didn't. Honestly, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I was so stressed going into this game because obviously KC was going. Obviously, they were the favorite, and they were the defending champs. That was big. This game was so like mentally for the Eagles. I couldn't even imagine what they were fucking going through.
Yep.
They lost to a team 2 years before to a field goal off a bad call. Still say that to this day. But it's just, in my opinion, I would put a little more blame on Mahomes. The reason why, obviously, he is known to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. No, in the world, right? Brady, he can't be compared to Tom Brady when he has a stinker like that.
It's true.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, I think he had 24 yards in the first half.
It was bad. Like, the majority of his yards did come in the fourth quarter, especially when he hit that 50-yard deep ball to Xavier Worthy. So, yes, I completely agree. And then just not to go off your Patrick Mahomes point, because I agree with you, right? He's still young. He's still got a lot of time left to have that GOAT debate continue on for years, right? But this was a bad stinker by him. Obviously, his offensive line failed him. He was running for his life. I get it. But great quarterbacks make great decisions, and they elevate your game in the biggest moments, right? Even Tom Brady was down 28-3 in a Super Bowl and fucking locked in, man. Locked in. That's what GOATs do. However, back on the defensive side of the ball, where I'm just consistently roasting the shit out of the Kansas City Chiefs, 5 different players receiving on the Philadelphia Eagles had a reception of 20 yards or more. That's horrific.
That's amazing.
That's disgusting. That's almost like the corners and the safeties just didn't get. They were just playing zone and just fucking eating hot dogs out there in the secondary. That's horrible. It could not have been played worse in the secondary by the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm not even going to blame the defensive line because they got pressure on Hurts. They hurried him. It was the fact that the receivers that Hurts was throwing to on those blitzes were wide the fuck open.
Even Saquon on the wheel route.
Everyone. It was just depressing. Very depressing performance.
One thing I was shocked by the Eagles, I was not expecting Saquon to have, I believe it was 6 or 7 receptions this game.
He had 6. It's because they focused so heavily on stopping him in the run game. So you had to get creative and send him out there for screens, wheel routes, curl routes, all that good stuff.
This game, like for like Eagles fans, was so huge. For me, I was so it was so crazy. And the thing that a lot of people were saying is that if you watched the game and you heard like the stands, when the Eagles got a sack, it was like a fucking home game.
I will say this, it was prevalent in the crowd when they were introducing both teams. That stadium was easily 80% Eagles fans.
I think there's maybe like, I don't know how much that Caesars Superdome could fill, but I think it was like 60,000. Could be wrong.
There was 80% Eagles fans.
Yes.
The Chiefs were getting booed on almost every single play. The Eagles were getting cheered on almost every single play. Not to mention Taylor Swift in the box getting booed every time they showed her face in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. That was the best. That was the best thing in the world.
So, look, this was absolutely no putting it aside. This was a masterclass by the Philadelphia Eagles. This was the worst year of my Giants fandom. Not to mention before. I mean, I'm not going to make it about myself.
No, you can. You can for a little bit.
In the last 12 months of the Giants fandom, right? You lose Saquon Barkley. Not to mention you lose him to your rival in the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles then go on to win the Super Bowl with Saquon Barkley breaking the all-time rushing record in a season. Then the Giants get 3 wins in the year. They win in week 17, forfeiting the first overall pick, so they even screw up tanking. Eli Manning doesn't get into the Hall of Fame.
We will talk about that.
And then the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, pre-game of the Super Bowl, Michael Strahan is waving an Eagles fan on a boat saying, "Fly, Eagles, fly." You might as well just stick an ice pick in my testicles. This couldn't have been a worse 12-month stretch for any Giant fan ever.
When I saw Michael Strahan do that, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my eyes.
Disgraceful. I wish there was a Giant fan on that boat between him and Saquon who went up there and pushed him off the boat.
Dude, I can't even emphasize how much, Dean, I thank you and all Giants fans for giving us Saquon Barkley. Honest to God, going into the year, I did not expect the Eagles to, by getting Saquon Barkley, would win a championship. I didn't think that.
Just pure sadness. Just pure. And you know what the good news is? There is a silver lining for me.
How?
There is. Everything I just listed, right? I'm sorry. It physically cannot get worse. The Giants are at rock bottom. There is no going down. There's no getting worse than this. There isn't, Derek. No, there's nothing you can say.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Malik Neighbors requesting a trade. That's down. That's rock bottom.
That would never happen. It was his first year, right? That's not gonna happen. This is rock bottom. They can't get worse than the fucking events that happened in the last 12 months.
Yeah, I would say it's been a horrible 12 months for New York in general.
It hasn't been great.
It's been fucking horrible.
The highlight was a team making the World Series but then losing.
I'm laughing, but I'm also upset because I'm also a Yankee fan. But hey, it's the Eagles' time. One thing I will say, obviously, happy belated birthday to Saquon Barkley. What a birthday gift. And Cooper DeJean, which, might I add, is actually so cool how you win a Super Bowl on your fucking birthday.
Yep, solving racism 2 people at a time.
All right. But this is the last thing I'm going to talk about for the Super Bowl until we talk about mini topics. There's a lot of people were talking about that first call in the game.
Yep.
And then even Brady and Kevin, is it Burkhardt?
Yep.
Kevin Burkhardt were wondering, how the fuck was that a call? And then there's another call. And then everyone thought
the very next drive.
The very next
against the Chiefs when they were on offense.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was almost as if because honestly the rest of the game I thought the officiating was fine. It's almost as if they made a horrific call on the first drive and they said, "Oh shit, we got to even it out and balance the forces on this very next drive." And you heard it in Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt. They said, "Well, they're 0 for 2 so far." It happens. It happens. And it unfortunately happens more than we'd like.
I almost broke everything in my house. When that first flag of a pass interference, I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I'm like, I was thinking in my head, oh my god, this is how the game's going to go. This is how the game's going to go. It's going to be a flag every second. They moved their arm, flag. And another penalty that I still didn't understand was the false start on the field goal when he clearly jumped off sides.
So what they said it was on the center because he did a slight hitch in his motion. It was ridiculously stupid. I mean, what does it matter?
I know we won. I just want to talk about that call because obviously that was a to start off the games and even seeing the announcers confused by it, you're like, what the fuck?
Announcers ripping it, which I actually give Brady a lot of props for. Because
First,
this was his first Super Bowl, first year officiating, and he held no punches.
no, he said, fuck that. And you want,
Which is what you want. Which is what you want. You don't want announcers to suck off the NFL left and right.
yeah, and it was funny though because when when they brought up Brandon Graham and they asked Tom Brady, he's like, don't bring up that name to me. He said, he's like, we're friends. We're friends. We both went to Michigan, but don't bring up that name anymore.
Yep.
All right. Whew. Finish the beer. Now I'm happy. Now we can talk about one topic that we did start to mention. It does involve the Giants.
Yep.
I do want to talk about this.
Wonderful.
Eli Manning,
Yep.
in my opinion, getting robbed.
Yep.
You're a Giants fan. Dean, start this off.
Look, I'm biased. So I'm going to start that off first and foremost, okay? Because it's true. I'm a Giants fan. I've watched Eli my whole life, especially after Eli, you learn to appreciate what he was able to give you for all of those years. So, yes, I am extremely biased first and foremost. Putting that aside, that being said, yes, he got fucking robbed. That's ridiculous, okay? My best line that I can give you before giving you all of the stats that I've compiled about this beautiful, sexy man that is Eli Manning.
All right.
You can't tell the story of the NFL without Eli Manning. It's the truth, right? Tom Brady is the GOAT, the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football. And Eli beat him twice. Twice. One of which was an 18-0 season going to go undefeated, which would have had history written all over it. Okay, so that's just first and foremost. I'm sorry, I had to say that, okay? Secondly, if we go to the stats, which I think is what you should look for in any sort of NFL Hall of Fame type inductee, right? Top 10 all-time in passing touchdowns. Top 10 all-time in passing yards. Just those two things alone is retarded, is ridiculous. You know how many quarterbacks have been in the league since 1940? And he's top 10 in both of those things. Okay, we're gonna move past that though, because it gets better. I promise, it gets better. Okay, 117 wins as a quarterback, 14th all time. It's pretty damn good for how many great teams there have been out there. Okay, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, 210 consecutive starts. 3rd all-time against QBs, was never injured in his entire career, and trust me, he took some fucking beatings. He had the worst offensive line in 7 of his NFL career years. That's absurd to begin with as well, okay? 37 game-winning drives, 12th all-time, 2,800 playoff passing yards, top 20 all-time, top 20 in playoff touchdowns all time, 27 fourth quarter comebacks in his career, 12th all time. I mean, I don't know what the voters wanted him to do. His stats aren't sexy, right? He never won an MVP. He never came in the top 5 in MVP voting. His stats were never pop off the charts. Unbelievable. In 2011, though, he did have 4,900 passing yards, which is absurd, which is unbelievable. I just don't see how the voters could have looked at this guy and said he wasn't a Hall of Famer. Not to say he can't get in the coming years, but I just thought he was going to be a lock for first ballot just because of his accolades, especially his playoff accolades.
I want to get controversial now.
Sure.
Who would you replace? If you could replace someone, who got inducted this year.
You didn't have to replace anybody. The minimum each year is 3 people to get in. The maximum is 5. 4 people got in this year. You didn't have to replace anybody.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
You didn't have to replace anybody. And by the way, fucking Sterling Sharp, blow me. That's my answer. There's my answer, Derek. All right?
And the thing,
Like, are we kidding here?
the thing that's crazy too is like, unlike this is no like shots at Sterling Sharp because obviously he had a good career, obviously cut short because of injuries, but it's kind of like a needle when you see like first brother duo to enter to and be in the Hall of Fame, and then obviously it would have been Payne and Eli.
Yep.
It's I was so shocked knowing that he didn't make it because this year I thought he was gonna make it. Obviously, I thought Antonio Gates was gonna make it. I was expecting him.
I also thought Adam Vinatieri got robbed.
Oh yeah, he did. Oh yeah, he did.
So I just don't agree with fuck the Hall of Fame.
I honestly like the voting for the Hall of Fame in general has been flawed for so many fucking years. Like obviously in the past, keeping T.O. out for as long as they did. And this is one thing that makes no sense to me. I'm not even I'm not a Giants fan. I'm an Eagles fan, and I'm saying this. He should number one. He should definitely got in. He should have been first ballot. I don't know, but he definitely should have made it in. But the thing that makes no sense to me is that they keep players out for their first year if they had a good career, if they had off the field issues, because that's what happens to most guys who should like T.O. He got kept out because of off the field issues.
Yep.
Eli, he was voted Walter Payton of the year consecutively. He was a good fucking dude. I don't understand what I don't understand what kept him out of it. What is the reason for not putting him in this first year?
I think the reasoning for people that will say what their reasoning is because he didn't have an exceptional regular season career. And to that, I say go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. It's the truth. Sure, you know what? If he didn't win 2 Super Bowls and he didn't go into the playoffs, yeah, you know what? He probably doesn't make the Hall of Fame, right? And he's just another quarterback who came and gone. But that's a bullshit argument. Because he did make 2 Super Bowls. He did win 2 Super Bowls. He did win 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I don't want to hear that argument. It's a stupid argument because you're putting out hypotheticals that didn't happen.
Yeah.
You're giving excuses to a bullshit reasoning. I don't like any of the Hall of Fame voters. I don't like them at all. I would run them over with my car if I saw them. Fuck everyone. Fuck the Eagles. Fuck this season. I'm done speaking about this.
Seeing the Giants meltdown has made my life. The Giants and the Cowboys meltdown have been the best thing in the world. It's funny to say how Kenny Pickett has a ring. When
Shut up, Derek. My mercy has limits. I'm giving you a lot. Can we move on now, please?
Yes, we can move on. All right. We will move to basketball. We'll take a break from football for a bit, and we'll speak about basketball.
Okay.
Obviously, AD had his...
Yep.
AD had
How you feeling, Mavericks fans?
AD had his first game on, what was it? I believe it was Saturday afternoon?
Yep.
Saturday afternoon. It was heavily anticipated. And he started off the game electric. Honest to God, I was watching the first half, and I was like, this is the best trade in history. They got AD.
Double in the first half.
Crazy. Him and Kyrie, what they were doing, crazy. I was like, oh shit, they're about to fuck shit up in the West.
Yep.
And then tragedy strikes.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I don't feel good about that.
Nope. You see,
this was always the concern with him. Everybody knew this. The Lakers especially knew this, fucking robbing the Mavericks of a 25-year-old god prospect in Luka. I mean, this was always the concern with Anthony Davis. He always gets injured almost every year, no matter how great he is. And now he has an oblique strain, and he's out indefinitely. I mean...
He's out for 4 to 8 weeks. He's not out indefinitely. He's out for 48 weeks. 4 to 8 weeks.
I'm sorry, Mavericks. You did this to yourselves.
It's a self-inflicted wound, but seeing the first half, you're like this. All right, I see the potential. I see what we could have, and then just the non-contact. I'm like, oh no.
It just doesn't. I mean, look, after this year, my God, have mercy on my soul. The Mavericks GM has got to get fired.
Gone.
Gone.
Executed.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like we obviously spoke on the trade when it first happened, and we said the Mavericks definitely were on the losing side of this, and they were going for it this year and next with Anthony Davis and Kyrie. But then this happens, which was so predictable, just based on how everything was. You know what? And on top of that, I don't know if you mentioned it previously, but Luka has. I know we were going to talk about it. Luka has his debut tonight, and you just know he's gonna light it fucking up.
He might drop 40 tonight. I'm not kidding.
He's gonna drop 40. He may drop a 40-point triple double tonight.
You know, I honestly think he would. I honestly think he might.
The only downside, and I know we were talking about AD, but shifting over to the Lakers a little bit is, for anybody who doesn't know, they're one of their big trades where they got a big guy, Mark Williams from the Hornets, got rescinded and declined because Mark Williams failed a physical.
Idiot. Fucking idiot.
So that was a bad. Look, I don't want to get too into it because, you know, the Lakers still do have a quality team, but that's a bad beat for the Lakers because looking it up really quickly while I have everybody with me, the two centers now on the team for the Lakers are Jackson Hayes and Christian Koloko.
All right, Jackson Hayes has been playing solid. I'll give that. Now he's been playing solid, but Mr. Koloko is kind of
So they definitely do have a big hole in their team right there. I don't know how it's going to work out. It's definitely going to work out better than the Mavericks have worked out so far.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty much they traded Luka for a bag of walnuts
yeah,
because AD's gonna be sitting just there watching the games in like joggers.
oh yeah,
Sneakers.
and you know by the time he comes back for the playoffs, because he will,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
4 to 8 weeks puts them on time for the playoffs. He's going to have absolutely no reps behind him, and he's going to get injured again in the first round.
Or I would honestly, this might be. I'm not trying to be a dick, but like for all you know, Kyrie could get hurt within the time of him coming back.
It's just chalk it up, Mavericks fan. Go find a wobbly chair and a noose somewhere and just get it over with.
For once, I agree with you because get the coffin that you brought into the stadium and put the GM in there and then take him away.
Oh my God, man.
Oh well, we have to talk about the other side of it.
Yep.
Luka Doncic or Doncic, whatever you want to fucking call him. Everyone calls him different names, but he's that guy, the 25-year-old beast. He's playing his first game tonight against a bad team,
Yep.
the Utah Jazz. From what I've seen in pregame, they decorated the entire stadium with Luka shirts.
Yep. Giving every single fan that comes to the game tonight a number 77 Luka Lakers shirt.
I've never seen that before in my life.
And I do want to temper people's expectation. We joke, right? He's going to have 40-point triple-double, blah, blah, blah. This is his first game back since mid-December due to injury. So they are going to ease him in, which is what you have to do in these situations. They're not just going to go out there and play him 35 minutes tonight. That's just not going to happen, right? So you do hope he stays healthy because obviously he's electric. He's one of the best players in the NBA right now. So I do wish him the best on the Lakers. If I'm a Mavericks fan, I am disconnecting my Wi-Fi tonight. I don't want any alerts. I don't want to watch TV. I don't want to get text messages. I don't even want my poor grandmother who may have fallen in the tub to call me. Nobody. I don't want anybody. Just sit in the darkness with a bottle of whiskey and a handheld 44 caliber. And we'll see how the night goes.
Yeah. It's bad. It's really bad. Like, obviously, Luka, you're 100% right. They're not going to, like, throw Luka into the fire. But I wouldn't be surprised. It would not put J.J. Redick. I would not be surprised if J.J. Redick said go play 35. Go play, like, 36. I would not be surprised because Luka he's a good player. He can do it. It's just depending on how they want to do this leading into All-Star break.
You want to ease him back, and the All-Star break is this Friday, right? You give him maybe 20 minutes tonight. You give him 20 minutes the last game before the All-Star break. Get him nice and eased in, like you said. Give him that rest time to recuperate during the All-Star break, and then you could start really hit the ground running when you come back from the break.
One thing I will say about this game that pisses me the fuck off, which goes back to the fucking streaming services. Why the fuck is this game on Disney Plus, ESPN Plus? I understand it's on ESPN, but for some why isn't this game on like TNT?
Well, look, man, I don't know what to tell you.
It pisses me off.
Of course,
Oh.
and it's frustrating for all us fans out there because we don't have Disney Plus and ESPN Plus. It is on ESPN, thankfully, so we can at least rejoice on that. But still, like,
Come on.
come on.
Like, what the fuck are you doing? But obviously, I want to ask your honest prediction. We obviously both said an outlandish one for his stats.
Mhm.
Luke, what do you think Luka's stats will be for tonight?
I mean, assuming he does play around the 15 minutes or 20 minutes mark, I think he scores anywhere from 10 to 15 points, gets 5 boards, 5 assists. That's my prediction. A nice and modest showing to really ease him back in.
Okay. Mine is, I think he's going to record a double-double tonight.
Okay.
I think he's going to have 22, 5, and 10 assists.
Not out of the realm of possibility. This
I know.
guy's a freak. Yep.
He's an absolute fucking animal. One thing that obviously LA is looking forward to. I'm not even a Laker fan. I'm looking forward to this. A fucking Luka to LeBron lob.
Oof.
It's gonna be Luka will probably do like a behind the neck pass off the
The
glass.
stadium's gonna collapse on that one.
Yeah, it's gonna implode. The Staples Center will fucking implode.
Yep.
All right. Well, that concludes our little NBA part. But Dean, we gotta move on to your new and improved segment. Dean.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
Yes, mailbag, everybody. Mailbag. Woo. Yeah. Come on, show me. Yeah, there were the fireworks. Beautiful mailbag. Okay. We do have a new question person this week. This is a big milestone for our channel. This is the first female to give us a question. So we are transcending genders at this point, which is great to see.
I love it.
Great to see. Our reach is getting expanded. Love to see it. Keep them coming, everybody. We're going to continue to do this. But this is Dolores. Dolores, wonderful name. Wonderful name. Dolores from Elkhorn, Iowa. Elkhorn, Iowa. How you doing out there in the middle of the country, Dolores? Welcome to the podcast. Woo! Okay, but she does have a good question for us, right? This is coming off of the heels of the Super Bowl. Obviously, Saquon being one of those big figures that has been talked about not only all year, but all playoffs as well. Derek and Dean. First time, long time. Dolores, thank you. Do you guys think Saquon Barkley is the best free agent signing for an NFL team in the last 10 years? And on top of that, just a quick add-on, do you think the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl without him? Derek, this is your boy now. This is your team. This is your moment. I'm going to let you start off the conversation, and you can answer both questions.
Okay. I'm going to answer the second question first. Do I think we make it to the Super Bowl without him? No. Because our way of getting to this point was him obviously rushing for 2,000 yards. In the big game, when we needed him the most, he came through, especially against the Rams in week 11 or 12, somewhere around there. Ran for 255, and he scored a lot. So, I do not think we make it here without him. Do I think he's the best free agent signing in the NFL in the past 10 years? It's very hard to say. Because for his position, it's not as valued as other positions. Running backs are like pushed off to the side. To where, it might come out as a little biased, but I do say this is the best. One is the best because all the other the only other person who I could think of is Mr. Brady,
Mm-hmm.
and he was signed and he won a championship with Tampa Bay, but he had a well-established career before that. He was just didn't want to play in New England anymore and then left. Saquon Barkley was injured all the time and was on the Giants, suffering.
Oh, thank you. Yep.
But
Thanks.
I think that Saquon is the best free agency signing, and I do think that the Eagles do not make the Super Bowl without him.
Huh. First point, I will go to the second point as well on this one, first and foremost. Do the Eagles make the Super Bowl without him? No. I truly don't think so. And I'm going to go back to the game that I said in previous weeks as well. I don't think they get past the Rams without Saquon Barkley. I think the Rams win the NFC Championship if Barkley's not there. So that's first and foremost. I do truly, 2,000 yards. Come on, man. Like, you can't replace that. That's huge. Any little things could have been a difference maker in this season, standings wise, seedings wise, wild card, divisional game, any sort of game wise, right? So, no, I don't think the Eagles make the Super Bowl without him. 2, I'm gonna cheat a little bit on this one. I'm sorry, Dolores. All right, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna say the last 15 years. Is he the best free agent signing? 1, no, he's not. That's my opinion. He's top 3. He's top 3. My point of view is when you're looking at a free agency signing, if you're going to pick out the great free agency signings, they have to impact the team immediately, right? They have to bring you to the promised land. So that's why Saquon should be considered one of the best. First year, right away, Super Bowl. Fuck me. Right? I will say yes, I think Tom Brady is the best. Right? Immediately. Tampa Bay had nothing going for them over the last 10 to 15 years, besides the early 2000s. Tom Brady comes in, changed the whole dynamic, wins a Super Bowl. That's just pure greatness. That's impact right there, right? Because before him, it was Jameis Winston. And what did Jameis Winston do, everybody? Nothing. So, without Tom Brady, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do not win the Super Bowl. Just flat out true. I cheated a little bit and I extended it to 15 years because there was another huge quarterback free agency signing that I wanted to mention that happened in 2012, and it's Peyton Manning to the Denver Broncos, who I think is an insanely impactful signing. Not only because they won a Super Bowl, but they went twice. So he immediately signed in free agency from the Colts to the Broncos. Went twice. Yes, they got blown out in the first one. We're not going to talk about that one. But in the second one, they brought the Denver Broncos back to the promised land since Elway, which is a long time. So all of these signings, if you're talking about impact, and we thank you once again, Dolores, for the question. Really great question, especially coming off the heels of the Super Bowl. If you're talking about all-time free agent signings, you have to choose the ones that have immediate impact on their team. And that's why, to your point, I don't think Saquon's the best. I do think he's top 3.
Okay. This is my way to counter your point. The reason why I think he's the best also is because obviously you're a quarterback. You control the game. You run the game. I feel like for a running back to do what he did to lead the team to a Super Bowl, it was more impactful than a Brady, who was obviously well-renowned already, taking the Bucs to the Super Bowl, who did have a good team. They had a good team. They were just missing a quarterback.
I don't think you can make that argument of a good team. The Eagles had a great team before Barkley.
All right, Dean. Mike Evans.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you on the Bucs standpoint. I'm saying that Barkley was that extra chink in the armor that they needed. The Eagles were pretty much great everywhere else. You can make that same argument for the Bucs. I agree.
I don't know, for me, honestly, I'm not trying to not put the bias in. I'm really not. But it's I just see what Saquon did for the Eagles was more impactful than what Brady did for the Bucs. But there's one point I have to say, is that it's hard to judge it off of 1 year. Saquon's in a 3-year contract. All those two signings that you were talking about were, I think, I don't know how was Peyton was
Multi.
Peyton was
Peyton
with
was there for a
3.
while.
He was there for
Peyton
like 3-4, I think.
Yeah,
And Brady was there for 3, I think.
2 or 3. Yep.
Yeah. So I think this could be heavily argued on after Saquon's contract is done.
Look, if Saquon the next 2 years brings them to the playoffs, brings them to the Super Bowl, maybe even wins another Super Bowl, excuse me, yes, your argument is valid. Then he'll probably be the most impactful free agent signing within the last 10 to 15 years. And not only that, I won't be here anymore because I'll be somewhere in a ditch. So, thank you, Dolores, for your question. Thank you for continuing my depression. Thank you for continuing Derek's elation. And we can move on.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. We have to go back to the game. The Super Bowl. The biggest game. All right. I made a crazy statement the last episode. 2 crazy statements. One of them came beautifully true. The 10 points. I picked the spread for the 10 points. Another thing I said was Nick Sirianni would outcoach Andy Reid.
Okay.
Going back on that statement, what I said, what do you think about it now, Dean?
I don't think he outcoached Andy Reid. I'm sorry. I don't. That's my opinion. I don't. I think Nick Sirianni coached a very good game, right? Went for it multiple times on 4th down in the first half when he needed to. We can even argue that the very first 4th down that he went to deep to A.J. Brown should have been a completion and a conversion, except the ref said, go fuck yourself. So he made all the right calls, and he did. No doubt about it, right? I just think this was... Honestly, I just think this was better team against a good team. I think the team itself played exceptionally well. I'm not taking anything away from Sirianni's coaching because you know what? He really didn't make any mistakes this game.
So proud.
But on the flip side of it, is there anything different that Andy Reid could have done that he made a mistake on in the game either?
I mean, I can think of one.
Which one?
Well, to start off the first half, what they did was they moved around a lot. In the second half, they sent a lot of motions. They focused on motions, which the Eagles heavily struggle on. Is when they motion a wide receiver, motion a tight end. They motioned a lot, and then they strayed away from that. After like the first 3 plays of the drive of the second half, I was in my head. I was like, oh shit, I don't like how this is going. They're driving down the field with ease. Obviously Xavier Worthy with the catch, Brown with the catch. But my opinion, I think he outcoached him. Because if you really, obviously, it does go down to the defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, coached an absolute masterclass in the booth. Absolute masterclass. But the decisions that Sirianni made in this Super Bowl it was clutch. He wasn't, I feel like in the last Super Bowl, he was so cocky and arrogant with himself that he fucked himself over on some stupid calls. But going into it, he was poised. Going into the game, he was poised. Going out during the game, he was calm. Some of the plays that we were running I didn't even fucking expect to say.
I will say this, I agree with you. He was poised. There was no second guessing in his decision making, which is what you want to see, especially come the Super Bowl. How about this? I'll give you this. At the very least, he coached at the same level as Andy Reid. Maybe he did outcoach him a little bit. I'm going to give you one little thing, and this is going to be the end of my conversation. This was his best coach game of his NFL career.
Oh, but obviously you won the fucking Super Bowl. That's a given.
Regardless. I'm not saying win or lose. Best coach game of his career. No mistakes. Made decisions quick and easy. Went for it when he needed to. Didn't go for it when he needed to. Kicked the field goals when he needed to. That's what you need to do as a coach. Called the timeouts when he needed to. It was perfect. Perfect. There was no mistakes on his end. So I'm going to give him props where props are due.
Exactly.
And that'll be the end of that. Because I still don't like him.
That's fair enough. Well, I want to stick with the coaching standpoint because this is segueing after this. There's a certain coach but I want to talk about broad scheme of things of coaches. Kellen Moore, the OC for the Eagles,
Yep.
is most likely leaving. He's
He is. He is confirmed leaving, going to New Orleans.
Yes. Do you, in my opinion, obviously, I am an Eagles fan. I don't want him to go because we just had a great year, and Jalen Hurts has another fucking offensive coordinator, which fucking blows. But I think it's kind of stupid for some OCs to take, for example, Kellen Moore. He's had a lot of opportunities to get head coaching jobs. He was with Dak Prescott and that team for a long time.
Yep.
And he didn't get a head coaching job. He goes to the Eagles, surrounded by a great team, gets a head coaching job. I feel like that most of the time, the team makes you a better coach.
Absolutely. 100%. Winning breeds opportunity. That's just how it works, right? He was around a great offensive staff, had the best offensive line in the league, had some great wide receivers in A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, had the best running back in the league, had a top 10 quarterback in the league.
That's the one.
Yes. Yes, Derek. The team around him definitely made him better.
What I'm saying is that I think what coaches OCs, DCs should be focusing on is if I could win these Super Bowls, for example, Spagnuolo.
Yeah.
He stayed with the Chiefs,
Mm-hmm.
won 2 Super Bowls.
Yep.
I believe, or was he there for the other Super Bowl?
He's tried head coaching before, Spags, but he is a lifer at the defensive coordinator position.
Exactly. Another example, Vic Fangio. He's tried the head coaching, failed, sticks to a defensive coordinator because that's what he's good at. I feel that obviously it's a great opportunity for you and it's life-changing for your family and all that. I completely understand that. But at some point you got to put into your head longevity.
Yeah.
Example, the Eagles are a young team who could win a lot of championships. I think it's stupid to run away from that to go to a team that you have to rebuild.
Look, sometimes coaches have to figure out on their own what the best course of action is for them. This guy just had an all-career year with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Put him on the map, which is good for him, right? Now it's on. Now the pressure's on because he's going to a team that's pretty much on the flip side of that, right? That doesn't have a quarterback, unless you want to count Spencer Rattler. And I don't want to count Derek Carr because he's not their future quarterback. So it's a team that's going to have to find a quarterback to move them forward. Who knows? It could be Rattler. I don't know. I mean, I've only seen him play, 3 games this year, and he was good in maybe one of them. Probably not. So he's going to have to find a quarterback of his franchise. He's going to have to basically revamp that offense because let's not forget, he does have good pieces on that offense, right? He does have Chris Olave. He does have Alvin Kamara. So it's not, and I'm going to give him props. He does have Taysom Hill too, who is the jack of all trades. So it's not like he has nothing. But he is going to have to make a name for himself, especially on that offensive side of the ball where he concentrates. My biggest thing is only because I have some unfortunate experience with it currently and right now. These guys are products of their team being great. Brian Dable, when it came to the Buffalo Bills and having Josh Allen as your quarterback and going to an AFC championship. And then he goes to the Giants and he has to make a name for himself and build his own scheme. And yes, I give Dable props. He made the playoffs with a team that probably shouldn't have been there. Not only that, he did win a playoff game, but ever since then it's been so these guys have to figure it out for themselves. And yes, who knows? Maybe after Dable's tenure as, Giants coach, he goes back to an offensive coordinator position elsewhere. Maybe Moore sucks dick in New Orleans, goes finds another offensive coordinator position elsewhere. It happens. You got to go through the ebbs and flows of your career. And like I mentioned, Spags went through it. He was a head coach. Vic Fangio went through it. He was a head coach. They both did not do well at all, but then went back to their calling. Super Bowl champions.
I feel like the reason why I see him, if you look at Spags and you look at Vic Fangio, they're on the older side. they've been in the game for a longer time. Kellen Moore is young as shit. So him going into a head coaching job is what he should do now, obviously, because like the money wise, he's getting paid good money. So good for him. But in my overall standpoint, I feel like that you should stay with a team to get the championships to build a bigger profile for you. Then go elsewhere, if you know what I mean. Then leave. God forbid you get fired. And then boom, because if you go way back, even the Shanahan tree is still fucking popping out of the woodworks.
Yeah.
All these fucking McVay, LaFleur, McDaniels, all these coaches are products of a great coach.
Yep.
One of them, obviously, McVay won a Super Bowl. LaFleur hasn't made it past certain points, even when they had Aaron Rodgers, and then Daniels is just there.
Yeah.
So, overall, congrats to Kellen Moore for getting this job. Obviously, goodbye, good riddance, love you, peace out. But I think we talked a lot about what we wanted to, but I know you want to talk about one specific thing.
Yes. So I would like to end the podcast here, and then we'll have a bunch of different things next week because, hate to break it to everybody, thank God for me, bad for Derek, football's over.
No.
Happy days.
No.
Woohoo! So next week and moving forward, we're definitely going to have some new segments and everything like that. But the one topic that is my baby that I will be talking about this week and definitely next week, the Four Nations tournament that's happening in the hockey now. Right? So I explained it the last couple of weeks. This usually is an all-star break time for the NHL. Instead, they're doing the Four Nations tournament, which is USA, Finland, Sweden, and Canada. The best players around the globe in the NHL competing for their country in basically a week and a half tournament, right? Because they do still have to keep the time constraints because we're still in a regular season. So they will be the teams all reported today, which is nice to see. They're practicing, they're getting ready to go because, like, you got to remember, all these players are on different teams, different schemes, and now they're playing for their country. And this is, by the way, a precursor, which usually happens prior to the Olympics, which is now the following year. So next year, this is basically a warm-up, for lack of a better term, for the Winter Olympics that's going to happen next year when all these players will compete in that again. However, wanted to just talk some logistics with everybody. First game is going to be on Wednesday. By the way, all of these games are nationally televised, which is going to be great for the sport. You get to see the best players against the best players fighting for their country. They're going to be on TNT, ESPN, ABC. Love to see it. And I know Derek doesn't like streaming services, but they will be on ESPN Plus and Disney Plus as well. So going to be great to watch. First game of this tournament is going to be Wednesday. Canada versus Sweden should be a great one. That's Wednesday. Thursday, USA versus Finland. And the championship game all the way the following week. We're going to talk about all the games in between. But it will be Thursday, February 20th. Basically how it works is a standing system. Each team, because there are only 4 teams in this, each team plays the other team once. Whatever the standings are, you go into the championship. Right? That's how it typically works here. So, going to be very exciting to see. Obviously, we reside in the USA, so I'm going to be rooting for the USA. Derek, even though he doesn't watch hockey too much, will be rooting for the USA. They released all the practice lines today, defensive lines, all that type of stuff. So, going to be great to watch these games. I encourage everybody to watch these games, especially, I can't emphasize this enough, it doesn't happen often. You have the best players in the NHL teaming up with each other, going against the best players in the NHL.
Yes.
So this is going to be electric. You obviously have Canada and their captain Sidney Crosby, two-time Stanley Cup, 3-time Stanley Cup champ, just unbelievable. Finland captain Alexander Barkov, who, for anybody who doesn't know, he's not the captain of the Panthers, another Stanley Cup champion last year. You have Sweden captain Victor Hedman, 2-time Stanley Cup champion for the Lightning. And then you have the USA captain Austin Matthews, no Stanley Cup champion, because the Toronto Maple Leafs suck dick. That's just a little slight on my end. But yes, going to be great regardless. We'll definitely talk more into it once the games officially start. So come next podcast when there's more than half the games played, we're going to get into it more in depth. I expect everybody to watch. I expect Derek to watch.
I will.
Enjoy hockey. It's so exciting. Try some new sports out there, everybody. I promise you're going to love it.
I have a question for you. There's obviously I don't know if this is true, but the favorite to win, would you say is the U.S.? You would say it was the U.S., right?
It's very close. The favorite is usually a 50-50 split, and it goes back and forth every year between USA and Canada. However, if you look at the rosters on all of these teams, the gap within talent-wise has been increasingly getting shorter and shorter. So Sweden has a phenomenal team for anybody who doesn't. I'm not going to name off players because anybody who doesn't watch hockey probably doesn't know these players, but Sweden has a phenomenal team, right? Finland has a very underrated team because they're very young. And then not to mention, when you look at all these teams, because you have to from this perspective, when you're going against great players, you have to look at the goaltending because goaltending can easily win you a game. And all of these teams, because of the talent in the NHL nowadays, have great goaltending, right? Canada has Jordan Binnington and Adin Hill. Like, these are two top-tier goaltenders for the Blues and Golden Knights. Finland, Kevin Lankinen, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Like, these are really good goaltenders that could really win a game. However, I will say in this tournament itself, the USA definitely has the best goaltender, and that's because it's Connor Hellebuck, and he is the best goaltender in the National Hockey League. So if you want my opinion, who should be favored? Yes, it should be the USA. However, I will say anything can happen when you have the greatest players in the world facing off against each other.
One thing, obviously, like as you said, I don't normally follow hockey, but I want to watch this just to see, because as what you said, it's the best hockey players in the world going against each other. It's like a better All-Star game.
It's a 10 times better All-Star game because for this fact, these guys are playing for their country. They care.
Yeah, it's not like half-court shots are going to throw up and fucking...
Not even a little. These guys are going to go out there, hit their own teammates on opposite teams. They're going to go out there and skate lightning speed, hit slap shots, do hits, penalties, fights. I guarantee this is 50 times better than an all-star game could ever be.
I would love to see a fight, like a teammate fight another teammate. That would be fucking hysterical.
I'm just letting you know, these things get a special... God, please, everybody tune in to USA versus Canada because it is absolutely fucking electric. And USA versus Canada is going to be this Saturday coming up, prime time, 8 p.m. on ABC. Please tune into that game.
That's gonna,
please. You got every viewer on this podcast, every viewer around the world will be honed in on that game, loving every second of it. Yes. The speed, the intensity, the goaltending, the star power, everything you can want and more in one game.
Yes. For once, I actually agree with you because USA versus Canada, especially in hockey, even going from the young age till now, to like the current entire like NHL, it's always been rivalry.
It's always for bragging rights.
Exactly. It's
who's better at hockey, baby.
Exactly. And I'm excited to see that game, especially, but obviously I will tune into all of them. And that's a promise I will make to you specifically.
Good. Very good. Because I promise you, all the viewers out there, all the fans out there, Derek included, you will not regret watching these games. They are electric.
Yes. And obviously, bet on the game if you have fun.
Bet on the game if you have fun.
Last thing, Dean, any last thoughts before I say the last thing before we go to Baller of the Week?
I think I'm all good for the day. We're going to touch more base into baseball next week. there was some free agency signings. For example, Pete Alonso going back to the New York Metropolitans. I know all you Mets fans are happy out there. So yeah, we're gonna get more in depth into baseball next week, but I think that's it on my end. Cannot emphasize enough. Go out there and watch hockey, everybody.
Yes. One last thing, because bringing up the betting, I just want to make sure everyone knew that we lost our bet.
Yeah.
That we had. Obviously, I lost one of my legs. Technically, you lost one of your legs. But let's just say this, because
I did, because Juju.
Juju was 1 yard short.
Bro, that fucker had 2 catches in the first quarter and not 1 catch for the rest of the game.
I know. I was like, oh my god, I might actually win a bet. Kids, adults, don't gamble. It's bad for you. Just I don't want to talk about it.
It's not good.
All right, Dean, introduce your favorite segment.
Baller of the week. How was that? Not bad?
I'd say like a letter got cut out. It was very good.
Yeah,
It all stayed in.
That's not bad at all.
It's very good.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I'll take that any day of the week.
All right, Dean, who do you want to start out for baller? Do you want me to start?
I think, look, I have a feeling where this is going, so I'm going to give you your prime time slot, and I'm going to let you start off with Baller of the Week.
Beautiful. All right. My baller of the week is not Vic Fangio. It's not Nick Sirianni. It's not Jalen Hurts. It's not Saquon Barkley. It is the man who brought all them fucking here. Howie fucking Roseman. I love that man with all my heart. He is the best person to happen to Philly. He needs a statue too. Vic Fangio, him, and then maybe Sirianni. See how he goes in his career. But that man brought all these young stars that we have on our team. If you look at the defense that we have, happened 2 years. Happened within 2 years. I know you're not liking this, and it's making me so happy. We got Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. Pretty much all of Georgia went to the fucking Eagles. They said, all right, let me grab Georgia and put him on the Eagles. Then Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell, signing Saquon Barkley for the 3 years, $36, I think, $1 million. 39. What he did for the state of Pennsylvania and the city of Philadelphia is fucking amazing. That man deserves to. He is a baller. I saw him celebrating in the locker room, dancing to every song in the world like he's a kid again. It's the best thing in the world. I love to see it. Last thing I want to say is I think he might go down as potentially, depending on how the Eagles do, he could go down as one of the best GMs of all time.
Okay. Good ball of the week. I gave you your time.
Yes.
Enjoy this week. It's never happening again. That being said, I'll get into my ball of the week and I'll end it off here. So my ball of the week is 2 people, actually. It is staying in the sports realm. It's going to the NBA. My 2 ball of the weeks happened today, actually, for anybody who doesn't know. Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez. The ownership team, the new majority ownership team of the Minnesota Timberwolves. An arbitrator ruled today that Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez are going to be the next majority ownership group of Minnesota. So there is a new reign. There is a new era coming to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Over Glenn Taylor. So big things are coming for the Timberwolves. This is going to set the course for them spending-wise, free agency-wise, trading-wise, all that good stuff. Because we obviously know their first and foremost priority is going to be eventually re-signing Anthony Edwards. So I want to wish Minnesota Timberwolves fans luck out there because this is a new era for you. A-Rod is a dear friend of the Yankees organization. I guarantee you he will treat you well. He loves winning more than anything in the world. So if he's given the opportunity, he will help your team, I promise.
He loves steroids.
Daddy does too. He does love steroids right in the ass. So I would try to keep him away from your players. But when it comes to winning, not a lot of people on this earth love winning more than A-Rod. He's a very intelligent sports mind. Not to mention Mark Lore is going to be helping him with the money backing. So want to congratulate both of them on becoming sole majority owners of the Minnesota Timberwolves. I want to wish them luck. I want to wish the Minnesota Timberwolves fans luck. Go T-Wolves.
That was a good ball of the week. Honestly, I've been so blacked out from the world. I didn't know that this happened. So it is good to know, because it is good for like all the young players in Minnesota that like they're gonna have a person who loves to win behind them in ownership.
Yep.
It's great to see. Well, that concludes my favorite podcast of the fucking year. I am so happy. I cannot emphasize it enough. One thing I will say, though, before I can completely conclude this, is there is a new segment that we're going to be bringing into next week, specifically. It's going to be called the What If segment. The segment is going to be considered of, for example, I asked Dean or Dean asked me, put yourself in the situation of a certain team. For example, I asked Dean, what if you were the GM for, I don't know, the Knicks?
New York Giants.
Oh, no. Actually, yeah. All right, the New York Giants. What would you do for 5 years? Break down. I could disagree or I could agree with some shit he does. And it could turn into a nice argument. We'll probably do like 2 each week, 1 for 1.
Yeah.
To make it interesting for us. And we'll go through different sports. That's the whole point of this.
Yes, we're going to look at all different scenarios. It doesn't have to be a 5-year plan. It could be a free agency plan. It could be a trading plan. It could be whatever our heart's desires. If any of the fans out there have questions on this, feel free to comment on it. We'll bring up a team. We already have one in the bank for next week, so we'll get into that pretty in depth. But that being said, right before I log off, Derek, first and foremost, I want to congratulate you one more time on your Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl. And secondly, to all my Giants fans out there, we're at rock bottom, ladies and gentlemen. It can only be up from here. Hang in there. Hang tough. We're going to be okay in the next 5 to 27 years.
All right. Everyone, like, subscribe, follow on TikTok. There's actually a TikTok that was posted Tuesday. It was in celebration of the Eagles, technically. Sorry, had to happen. But in celebration, we post on that, comment on it, like it, repost it, have fun with it. But obviously, like, subscribe, follow on TikTok, follow on Instagram. Still need to do the Spotify. This is on me. I was sidetracked by the Super Bowl. But this upcoming week, all the episodes will be put out ideally Sunday. So I'm going to put them on the whatever I had to do, put them together so you guys can listen to them on Spotify. So last thing I would love to say, fly Eagles fly. Go to the Super Bowl parade, get hammered, have fun in Philly. Peace.